No good way to open this. You're going to have to stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to the latest episode of Extra Time, the U.S. Men's National Team Soccer Podcast. I'm Tim. I'm here to talk to you about all things U.S. National Soccer Team. So the United States, in preparation for the Copa America this summer, coming up this month later on in June, is playing two friendlies. The first against Colombia, the second against Brazil. And this first friendly against Colombia was rough to say the least. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all of those things, how we felt about it, media reaction, coaches' reactions, other coaches' reactions, everybody's reactions, comments, anything. Are they justified? Are they not justified? What's my take? Are we overreacting? Are we underreacting? Are we right in the middle? What's going on? So first, let's get into the roster. So out of the 21 players that we get to bring with us, the only one that we're missing because of an ACL injury. So Serginho Dest, right? Suffers an injury back in May. He's got his torn ACL. He's not going to be playing in Copa America. This is a bummer. It's truly unfortunate. We're hoping that he heals and recovers very quickly. He's obviously a crucial member of this team, especially in positions where the United States is kind of already stretched. I think we can all agree that through the midfield, we have lots of depth, we have lots of options and potential, but, in defense, in our back positions, we really struggle. So, specifically in the center back position, which if you watch the game, was probably pretty apparent. So, we sit here, decide to start. Across the back, we have Joe Scally, Chris Richards, Tim Ream, and Anthony Robinson, now known as Jedi Robinson. Matt Turner in goal. Midfield, surprising only if you're not following Tyler Adams' recovery. I don't think it's unreasonable that Adams didn't play, especially knowing that there's a Brazil game coming, and out of the two games that you really want to try, excuse me, like an elite 11, you're probably leaving him out just for this game and saving him for Brazil. So we saw Weston McKennie, Giovanni Reyna, and Johnny Cardoso. And then across the front, Timothy Weah, Valerian Balogun, and Christian Pulisic. You've probably seen it, but if you haven't, this is the first time that the United States men was able to field all 11 players that were playing in a top 5 league in all of Europe. Sorry, my dogs are chewing on something, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't anything absolutely wild and crazy. It does not look like it is. So this is the first time that the United States men is fielding 11 players that are all playing in a top 5 league, in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So that's really, really exciting. When you look at this and I'm going to kind of walk you through the experience of this, right? Because obviously looking at it now, you're like, who cares? But you're reading the stories, you're seeing the starting lineup, you're hearing this news, the media's talking about it, and you're just thinking like everything is coming together so beautifully. Here's the United States having an opportunity. We're getting ready to come together. We're getting ready to show ourselves on the world stage. We're about to play the FIFA top, number 12 ranked team in the FIFA rankings. We're prepping for, 2016. We've heard 2016 over and over and over. It's the Copa America. This feels like the culmination of everything that every USA soccer fan has ever wanted. Things are finally coming together. The players are coming together. The media is kind of getting around. The culture is kind of getting there. MLS is building. Our players are going in Europe. Everything is you're just kind of feeling the groove and you're going with it and you're just so excited. And now Copa is a big deal and everybody's excited about Copa. And you feel like your friend who used to make fun of you for liking soccer 5 years ago is now like, bro, did you hear Copa's on? And he's excited and she's excited and they're excited and everybody's excited. And the game kicks off and we're rolling underway. And for the first little while, the United States looks really good. and we're putting pressure on them. We get an opportunity early, and Flair and Balogun, Balogun gets a chance, and you're feeling good about this game, right? And then 6 minute, you watch one of the dumbest things I've ever had to watch. Tim, that's too harsh. You can't say stuff like that. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to Anthony Robinson, who has struggled as a left back, both getting himself involved in offense because he kind of does too much on the dribble, and relying on his speed to make up for him and his defensive capabilities. You lost your man. So you lose your man. The ball gets played through. You're watching Ream and Richards give up because that ball's going out of bounds. And then you do this weird slide where you trap the ball in your box. Tight angle shot. Arias roofs it. Colombia's up 1-0. It's not unusual for the United States to do this. So even though I'm disappointed, again, it's a friendly. We got the word friendly. I'm not. It's okay. We'll brush it off, shake it off. We'll get back into this. Things will be all right. And then the game kind of starts to go down this really eerie road where we're forcing a lot of passes we shouldn't be. We're really struggling to kind of generate offense. And all of a sudden you're like, what is happening? We're trying to dribble out of the back. We're trying to make these passes. Like, what is going on as we're sitting here trying to do this thing? And so Colombia puts some pressure on a counterattack. They win a corner kick. Ball gets delivered. Header. Feat of skill, yes. Acrobatic move, yes. Great bicycle kick, no. Hit basically right at Matt Turner, and the ball goes in. And now it's 2-0. And now as a U.S. fan, you're starting to think, this game's going to get away from us. And, me and my brother Chris, you guys know, we all make these predictions. So Chris's prediction was 2-1 United States. My prediction was 2-1 Colombia, in the fashion of the United States gets one early. Greg does Greg things in the second half, subs out everybody. Colombia rallies and gets 2 goals. My brother said the game's either 1-1 or we get crushed. Sounds like Ryan wins this one. And his mentality was, if the game gets away from us, it's going to get away from us, and we're never going to get it back. And unfortunately, that's what happened. Colombia gets their first 2 goals. You start to have this moment of, here we go. Like, we were there. You're sitting, I'm watching this game, and I'm thinking, like, make it stop. Right? You did all this work, you had all this excitement, these amazing Premier League seasons were coming together. Like, it's Colombia. Yeah, they're a good team, but they're not, like, I wouldn't say Colombia is one of the top 10 teams in the country. I know FIFA's got them rated at 12. If you told me who are going to be the top 16 teams in the FIFA World Cup, does Colombia have a chance? I don't know. I don't think I'm putting them there. The top 8 teams, I'm not putting Colombia in that, and definitely not the top 4 teams. So, like, man, we're down 2-0. Like, what's going on? Whole rest of the first half is kind of like weird, scrambly. Like, we're not really sure what we're doing, but it's like amplified. So you're starting to get these weird feelings of how is a team that's played together for so long and had a coach for as long as they have, like, just be completely clueless as to how we're going to respond to being down 2-0. Like, yeah, we're still pressing. Yeah, we're still going for it. But Colombia is just absolutely relaxed and chilled. And one of the things that I said, and I've said a lot about our team, and it's very frustrating, is the teams that we play against, it's very obvious that they want the ball, and their guys that are off of the ball know exactly what to do. They have the confidence, and they go for it, and they show for their men. Whereas when the United States plays, we still play with this mentality of, man, I really hope you don't hit the ball to me. I hope it doesn't come to me. And as soon as I get rid of the ball, thank goodness it's his problem now. So when things get screwed up, it's his fault. It's this guy's fault if things don't work. And that's just not cutting it. That's just not cutting it for me. That's the mentality that we're playing with. You don't get to play with that mentality. You've been on the national team, and so you start to hear rumors of like, well, maybe this complacency again, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So end of the first half kind of comes around. We pick it up a little bit. We get a couple opportunities. Nothing like fantastic, but certainly moments where like they were kind of dangerous. Like we might have been able to get something. But we go into the locker room. Reem has had multiple giveaways. Horrible. Richards is neither here nor there. So it hasn't really done anything, but hasn't also butchered it. Anthony Robinson has looked like a fool, and Joe Scally's fine. Joe Scally's marking Luis Diaz, and he's doing fine, like better than fine. Diaz has not done anything. He has had just a couple opportunities to try to take him one-on-one. Scally's kept up with him. Scally's done whatever. So that's great. Johnny Cardosa is having a fine first half in the midfield. Again, nothing wild, nothing crazy. Giovanni Reyna looks good. Everybody else is non-existent. Weah has a couple runs up the right-hand side to try to generate stuff. It's really neither here nor there. Balogun, we've now had Balogun for months. We've struggled to get him involved, and it was my fear when we first had him commit and we first played him up there. We had this whole conversation. Oh, the media's hyping him up. Oh, he's going to be great. And I said, we still got to get him involved. So the problem with the United States is not necessarily that we're missing a number 9 striker, which I actually don't think we are anymore. I'm not saying we have a great 9 striker, but I think as far as like 9 strikers go, Pepe has performed, so at least in a CONCACAF level, we certainly have a number 9, and Balogun can perform. So it's no longer that we don't have a 9, it's that, well, we don't know how to get our players involved, which goes back to what I was saying. We just don't have guys who are committed. We don't have guys who want the ball, who want to move off the ball, who want to get involved, and who want to take ownership and responsibility of the game. So we go into halftime. It's 2-0. Meh. We're going to come out in the second half. We're going to make a difference. And we do. We come out in the second half, and we just flying out the gates, making a big difference, getting a bunch of opportunities, shots here and there, and then all of a sudden we do just sweet build up, knock the ball around in, right, left, just knock a quick through ball. Weah steps inside the 2 defenders in his man, hits a shot across the goal. It's so clean. It's so simple. It's a beautiful goal. Timothy Weah gets his one in. 58th minute. We're back in this game. We got a shot. We got a shot to get back in this. 2-1. So now you're thinking, you know what? If we can play the whole second half like this and we lose this game 2-1, yes, it's embarrassing because those first 2 goals, but it's a friendly, so we can move on. We can move on from this. We can forgive ourselves. It's okay. Typical United States, flatness, have been together, blame whoever you want, but it's okay. 2-1, it's fine. We're going to go into this. And then, we discovered how hard passing is. If you are somebody who watches the game of soccer and you think to yourself, I could do that. You take this ball, you kick it with your foot, it goes 10, 15 feet to another guy who's wearing the same jersey as you. I could do that. I'm here to tell you, you can't. It's very difficult. It's a very hard thing to do. To pick your head up, to look downfield, to see a guy wearing the same jersey as you who's saying, hey, play me the ball. Or in our case, probably has a look on his face who's like, oh my gosh, is he about to play me this ball? What am I supposed to do? And kick it to him? I mean, if you can do that, you should go try out for the U.S. men's national team because it's very difficult. That's all I learned from this game. My sole takeaway from USA Colombia is I just was never aware of how difficult passing is. And I didn't realize, my mistake. I thought one of the fundamentals of defense was not to try to dribble out of the back, especially if you were the last man. We decided to change all of those rules. We decided to completely rewrite the fundamental basics of soccer for the rest of the world and show everybody, actually, no, it is called soccer, and the United States does know better, and we're going to prove it to you. And boy, did that backfire. 77th minute, 85th minute, 88th minute. A rout. An absolute rout. All 3 goals coming off of turnovers of balls just hit to the other team. Some of them coming off a substitution. Cameron Carter-Vickers, what a stud. Honestly, what a stud. I haven't liked him since he's been on the roster. I'm not going to hold back now. He is evidence of our lack of depth in the center back position because, wow, is he horrible. Standing there, I mean, you go watch the replay. You could go watch the replay. He's literally like this, looking at his teammates like, I don't know what you want me to do, and then just kicks the ball up the center of the field, goes right to Colombia. The Colombia player takes 2 touches, plays the through ball through to his teammate, and his teammate just knocks it in the corner. That was all their goals. Just, oh, here comes Timothy Weah trying to dribble out of the back. Oh, and he gets stripped. Oh, and they go down the field. Oh, and they play a through ball. Oh, and he scores. Oh, we're going to try to dribble. Oh, we got picked. Oh, we don't hustle back. Oh, they play a through ball. Oh, he scores. Now, is it just on our defense? No. That was the worst performance I've ever seen from Matt Turner. If you weren't someone who thought, I'm not even going to say that. Typically for players, for the United States, for our field players, we've all been in agreement that we would rather play players that were playing for top 5 clubs, top 5 league clubs, even if they were on the bench, right? I'd rather have a Giovanni Reyna who comes in as a sub, as a starter, than, I don't know anybody in the MLS. I'm really deeply sorry. Than anybody who's starting in the MLS. We just would. Starting to wonder if that's true for goalies. Because Matt Turner's lack of play is really affecting his quality. Now, I was listening to other creators and commentators, reference Zach Steffen. We saw this happen with him, right? This prodigy of a goalkeeper who's now gone. We haven't heard from him. We haven't seen from him. I don't even currently know where he's at. Maybe it's worth going and playing somebody. I personally think Matt Turner should set out the Brazil game, and we should just see. I think a lot of players should set out the Brazil game. We should try it out. Things that I thought did go well, though, is Haji Wright coming in off the bench. Man, oh man. If you wanted to think Tim, be positive for a second, what players would you even give a marginal thumbs up to that if you had to rank out of 10, they would at least score positively? I would have scored Giovanni Reyna positively. I would have scored Tim Weah positively, even though he had his turnover. He took responsibility for it in an interview. He was devastated afterwards. He felt horrible because he kind of felt like he opened the floodgates, and that's what poured it on. So, if he doesn't turn that ball over, we're not down 5-1. I thought Joe Scally played really positively, and I thought Haji Wright came in and tore it up. There was only a couple decisions he had that I wasn't thrilled about, and it was well after he had really made an impact. He comes in, he does a lot of dancing, he really knocks the ball around, generates some chances, and then when things kind of faded, then he tried to dribble up the left-hand flank a bunch of times, and it's you're just not that fast. I'm not a fan of bringing in Tillman. De La Torre's fine. He kind of rose very quickly for us, and he was somebody who had a lot of energy, and he was like an Aronson, but with a little bit more skill in the midfield, and that then just kind of peaked and plateaued, and we haven't really seen much from him. And then obviously Yunus Musa, who we can all appreciate, coming in, and the game just gets wildly out of hand. Colombia putting on an absolute clinic. I think by the end of the game I was laughing, kind of cheering Colombia on. I had never seen anything like that. It was, quite frankly, a joke. And, there are games that we've played. I mean, if you want to look at it from just strictly a stats perspective, the last time that the United States conceded 5 goals was to Mexico in 2009. Okay. The last time we lost this badly was 2014. This, and I say those two because my summary afterwards was this is U.S. soccer from 10 years ago. I get you have bad games. You do. You have bad games. Players don't show up. You struggle. I completely understand. What are the chances that every single player has a bad game on the same day? It's possible. It's possible. It's not super likely that that's going to happen. Every player, bad game, same day. This is where this is where Berhalter is going to make or break it for himself. Because this is where coaches come in tactics-wise. Your team just got throttled. We didn't see any life. We didn't see any signs of creativity. We didn't see any player on the field take responsibility, take ownership. I don't really get an impression from you in your post-game interviews that you did as well as a coach. So now what? Are you going into that locker room saying this is unacceptable? Because what we do know about Greg, whether you like Greg or not like Greg, and if you want to know like our take on Greg, Chris and I did a breakdown. I'll try to put a card up here. Chris and I did a breakdown of Greg's ability and I guess more than ability, his cultural fit, his alignment with what U.S. Soccer stated they were looking for in a coach. And we broke that down. We broke that down in a video. And so when I think about Greg, he did what all the other previous coaches had tried to do, but he did it successfully, which is to bring in all of this overseas talent and make it work. And not only did he do it, he did it in a way riskier fashion than the other coaches did. Klinsmann brought in older players that were overseas talent. Greg went and got the younger guys that are going to be around for forever, guys that we can relate to. And it worked, and U.S. Soccer took off, and the players took off. Now Greg's in a situation where he has to be able to convince us he can go the next step. His biggest criticism right now is, okay, you've created the talent, but you can't handle the talent. So what got us here won't get us there, quite simply, is the statement that's being said. Doesn't matter what forum you go on. But now, obviously, most of the comments are going to be negative. People typically hate coaches, and we always think it's the coach's fault. That's not how I operate. In the Netherlands game, yeah, I ridiculed Greg. In this game, and in most of the games with the players, that's who I'm coming at. I'm coming at the players because the coach gives you his instructions. He gives you a lineup. He tells you what he's expecting, and then you go out in the field and you execute. Greg didn't make Anthony trap that ball and make that decision. He didn't make Cameron Carter-Vickers hit that terrible pass. He didn't tell our defense. He might have told our defense to dribble out of the back. He probably didn't. Greg likes to build no matter what. We kind of knocked the ball around a little too much. Offensively, tactically, yeah, we got problems. But this? So that's the situation that Greg's in. Now, what's the question of the day, right? What's the question of the day? Well, the question of the day, as we head to the comments section, is Greg getting axed? Is this it? So first, is it too soon to think that Greg just completely bombs like these friendlies and he's out? The friendlies and out, that's extreme. Copa America and out. Two thoughts. First thought, we get knocked out in group stage. Any other coach that we had, with the exception of probably Bob Bradley, would lose their job. It's with 2026. Okay? Any coach that we've had in U.S. Soccer history with the World Cup on home soil, with the next World Cup on home soil, who loses in group stage in a Copa or a Conca tournament is out. Because we're not in a position where we can wait on that. Okay? That's just it. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I think we could lose to Bolivia, lose to Uruguay, and lose to Panama, and no one's going to care. The fans are going to lose their minds. I'm going to be blowing up, screaming right, left, and center, handwriting a letter for Greg to resign. I don't think that's going to happen. The players asked for Greg back. The players like Greg. They see something that we don't. We have to trust them. As a coach, when I coach my track and field team, if you're not familiar with track, high school track has dual meets where you like go run the same, you just host a meet against another school and they score the races. It's really stupid because who cares who wins a dual meet? Like, really, who cares? So it's kind of like, well, we can't have a soccer game against them and just like people score goals. So I don't know, we'll just run all the races and like give points. But it really just often goes to like the team who has more kids. So I would talk to my athletes and I convince them and had them buy into a mentality of none of the dual meets matter, the championships matter. And we would get thwomped when we would play, we would lose meets 121-0. Just wouldn't score any points. And all my kids would be running different races that they're not good at to build speed or build endurance or whatever it is. And they'd be running workouts in the meantime. And the other coaches would be mad at me because you're embarrassing them and you're not taking it seriously and you're not doing whatever. But the end game was always the result. Because at the end of the day, there's only like 2 meets in track and field that matter. Conference championships and states. And because states matters, state qualifier or sectional is going to matter. But your conference championship matters. Your section meet matters, right? So conference, section, states. That's it. So you just spend the whole season getting ready for those. It's not unlike soccer. You're going to play a bunch of friendlies throughout the year, but the reality is Copa matters, but the World Cup matters more. So even if you bomb out of Copa, if you learn something in Copa, isn't the World Cup the end result? So I maybe have a little bit more leeway for Greg and a little bit more leniency for Greg than a lot of other fans do, because I kind of want to see where we're going. I'm not saying I'm not going to be skeptical. I'm not saying I'm not going to be worried about it. I'm not saying I'm not going to be angry and all those other things. But the players are on board. We had the Gio scandal. Gio's back. He's still crushing it. No hard feelings. Greg's gotten us through some weird stuff. He's gotten us through a lot of hard stuff. Maybe we can do it. Maybe he can be the player that does that. Colin Cowherd said, I don't understand why everybody's so upset. It's just a friendly. Get over yourself. I mean, he's a sports commentator. He knows a lot about a lot of sports. I'm not about to sit here and tell Colin Cowherd he's out of his mind. But soccer culture is a little different. Friendlies don't play quite like preseason games. Right? If you're an Eagles fan and the Eagles play preseason football and they go 0-3 in preseason, you're probably not like losing your mind and saying, wow, we don't have a shot and we should, sell Jalen Hurts and we should trade out, we should do and then get a new coach. Like, it's preseason. You don't care. You're like looking at your rookies and stuff. Some friendlies are like that. Some friendlies are not. If we had lost this friendly 2-1, it would be like that Eagles. You lost a preseason game. It's okay. We look kind of good, though. We got some players that got potential. This was like, I would have rather not started any of those 11 players. We're trash. We're horrible. I don't even want to watch us do this. Right? Just what? What is happening? So, I think it's an underreaction to say, well, it's just a friendly. It's not that big of a deal. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter in the sense that the result doesn't matter, but it matters for, like, you're a player. It matters for your confidence. It matters for your esteem. It matters to get the fans on board. It matters based on who the other team is playing. Like, there were good players on the other team. They, like both teams played like an A- lineup to start. It's not like, it's not like we played like a C lineup and they played an A and we lost 5-1. Then nobody cares. And it's not the reverse of we played an A lineup and they played a C and we're horrible now. So that was one of the comments that I heard. And then one of the other comments that I heard is it's gonna elude me. What was the other comment that I heard? It eluded me. I mean the Greg firing one. But yeah, chatted about that. Does the United States need to lay off the 2026 talk, right? The other, big talking point that I was listening and, hearing was a lot of people chatting about how we're too focused on the future. We're not focused on the now. And I addressed that a little bit when I was doing my track talks. I'm not going to say too much more on it, but we're going to see. There's nothing wrong with that reality that, yeah, the World Cup is ultimately the goal. Alexei Lalo said that in his podcast. That's the goal. You'd be crazy to think that we're not focused on that, especially holding the event, right? They had a really good discussion, and I think if you haven't, you should check it out. Alexei Laos' State of the Union podcast, this last one was pretty interesting because the United States is trying to do something, this is what his buddy on the podcast said, that no other team has been able to do, which is like break into the set of elite teams. Nobody outside of Europe and South America has hoisted a World Cup trophy and has been a powerhouse team. So we have this big weight, and we got this big chip on our shoulder, and we're going after it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's that delicate balance of, staying relevant, staying focused on the now, but then also focusing in more on the future. So it is certainly going to be difficult. But where does that leave us? That leaves us going forward. United States versus Brazil. Predictions, thoughts, all this stuff. I'm not excited. And I want to be excited, and I'm not. And I'm not excited because, obviously, my gut reaction is this is going to happen again. It's going to be worse. Brazil, really kind of made Mexico look silly. Now, Mexico came back and hung in there and tied the game, only to immediately concede in the night. Like, the game was really weird. But it's Brazil, and Brazil's going to come out guns blazing. And we look at our backs. We don't have anybody. Tim Ream's old and washed up. We don't have Walker Zimmerman. Cameron Carter-Vickers is terrible. So you're looking at Miles Robinson, Chris Richards, who's playing center defensive midfield for Crystal Palace. Okay, maybe Richards can do it. Maybe Miles Robinson can do it. He might be outgunned. He might be outmatched. Anthony Robinson's going to get torched. Joe Scally might be fine. So then what? Are you going to try Mark McKenzie? Are you going to try, Lund? I think he's one of our other guys back there. Right? Is that who you're going to try? We got Shaq Moore. I think Shaq Moore coming in might not be that bad of an idea. I would like to see Sean Johnson or Ethan Horvath in goal. I really would. I think that would be worth it. I don't want to see any of the Tillmans. Maybe Adams over Cardosa. Because, Cardosa's second half, he does some stupid giveaways too. Unreal. So, my prediction for USA-Brazil, honestly, I'm just kind of hoping we lose 2-0, and that's it. And, life's good. It could be 4-5-6-7-0. It could be. So the other thing we don't know, because Greg didn't mention it, I haven't heard it, is we also don't know in the Colombia game that Greg didn't say we're going to play this style no matter what. And we're going to work on hitting those dangerous passes through the midfield like that, knowing we might get picked off. And even if we do, we're just going to go for it because it's just a friendly. I didn't get that vibe, but there's no saying that we don't try a similar strategy against Brazil. And there's also nothing saying that, we don't get back in the locker room and the players are all looking at each other saying, hey, it's time to wake up and get serious about this. We're either going to get real or we're not going to play. And that they come out as a completely different team, completely refreshed, rejuvenated, going after all of those things. There's nothing saying that we don't do that. So my prediction for United States-Brazil is for Brazil to just run the table with us. That may or may not happen. I don't know. We're just going to have to sit here and see and find out. It's going to, it's frustrating. And it's frustrating for a good reason, even though it's a bad reason right now. And the reason it's frustrating is because we are good. We're the best we've ever been. It's hard not to want to see that every single game, right? We haven't had a game like that in 10 years. All last World Cup qualifying cycle, all World Cup, 2 Gold Cups, 2 Nations Leagues, We haven't had a game like that. So it's weird to watch that and be like, what was it? It's one game. Let's hope it's one game. Let's hope the United States comes back. Greg has a talking to with him. He says, hey, guys, we got to get our heads out of our backsides and we got to go after this. And maybe we do. Maybe we show up. We run Brazil. We win 1-2, maybe even 3-0, 3-1, whatever. Maybe we even draw. And we build that confidence and we say, oh, you know what? Maybe Colombia's a lot better than we thought. Maybe we're a lot better than we thought. Maybe Brazil's not. Whatever it is, let's go into Copa America with some confidence, right? Maybe we can. Maybe we can't. It's tough to be optimistic about it, but the reason I can't be is a good thing is because we've been so good, and it's just so hard to watch us not be so good. Last thing that I want to touch on before we take off out of here is Jesse Marsch is now coaching for Canada. He's currently the coach of the Canadian national team. Interesting, isn't it? A lot of talk that the United States was going to get him. Canada, obviously, our biggest rivals, not from a rivalry stance, but just from the competition stance, as they just flat out won out group qualifying in CONCACAF to get ready for the last World Cup. We're not going to get to do any of those things similar and face any of that in this World Cup, obviously, because we're all automatically qualified. And now a coach who was commentating for the U.S. men for a little while, did a couple games, who was vying for the head coaching position, who said they didn't want it. They wanted to stay overseas. They wanted to do, club soccer or whatever. Here's my take. Did he miss the window? Because either Jesse Marsch missed the window or he's not that good. Right? You get offered the, people want to interview you for the U.S. men's job. You say, no, thanks, I'm good. I want to continue to coach club soccer. That's where my heart's at. None of those teams, at least any teams that you're really interested in, give you a deal that you really feel is worth it. None of the European teams really kind of fight for you. Now the U.S. thing's kind of taken by Greg. You're still kind of nowhere. Now you're commentating for a little while. That's kind of weird. Like, I thought you wanted to coach. Now you wind up in Canada. Interesting. So let's just give a little bit of a recap here. It's from Sportsnet. Obviously, Canada getting ready to, co-host the 2026 World Cup. They got knocked out by Belgium. Newly appointed coach Jesse Marsch, his first 2 games in charge. Canada took on the Netherlands and takes on France in a span of 4 days. Our end vision, our end goal is 2 years from now. We're just starting our process. It's almost unfair to have your first match against the Dutch and your second match against the French. But so what? We've got to grow up as a team. We've got to grow up as a football nation. And we've got to figure out ways to get better. Jesse Marsch quote from this. There's no better way to do it than playing against opponents like this. Canada's still looking for its first win over the new coach after a 4-0 loss to the Dutch in Rotterdam. Okay, so Canada loses 4-0, we lose 5-1, and then a 0-0 draw versus the French in Bordeaux on Sunday. Okay, you're going to draw France? It's pretty decent. We'll see what we can do up against Brazil because I think those 2 games, I think Canada's playing arguably stronger competition in those 2 teams, especially given the results that we saw in the last World Cup. So I just think it's interesting that Jesse Marsch is now coaching for Canada. I think it's going to be weird to have that kind of a little bit of tension. We'll see what he can do with that side because a lot of people are speculating that, well, not speculating, they're complaining that the United States soccer really needs to get a foreign coach, right? And I'm really against that, not because I'm against foreign coaches. I think foreign coaches are really great, but I have watched the way that American players get treated overseas and the inability and just no desire for the rest of the world to take American players seriously, no matter what their talent level is. We see the same thing with the coaches. And so if Jesse can do something for Canada, just hopefully not better than the United States, but if he can do something really well for Canada, that's going to be a big deal for us. And we have the opportunity to say, hey, like Jesse Marsch was able to do this thing, like American coaches aren't a joke. American players aren't a joke. The rest of the world should start to give us a little bit more respect. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So it's a frustrating game. It's really tough. United States is going to be playing tomorrow or tonight, depending on when you're watching this. And we're going to be taking on Brazil. We're going to see. It's going to be the last friendly before the United States kicks things off, I believe, on the 23rd against Bolivia in the Copa America event that we'll go into. I don't think we have a game on July 4th. Should be kind of weird. The United States normally always plays on July 4th. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But my parents are coming out, so hopefully the United States can stick around and get to watch some games with my dad. We'll see. Everybody, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to do a much better job about trying to get content out to you. Obviously, June's going to be super busy because we got lots of games after that. Going to try to be committed on Tuesdays to at least getting you a small snippet. Make sure you're checking out other people. If you enjoyed what you heard, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. Hit that like button. It helps us out. It helps our video get circulated to some more people. We just want to try to meet other fans and leave a comment so that we can have a conversation with you just about U.S. soccer and about all things that we love. So we got that red, white, and blue. We're taking on Brazil tomorrow. Until next time, everybody, take care.